My name's LazyBed, and I've been a fight fan for over 30 years. As an accidental industry insider, I've become a staple in the chat rooms of some of your favorite podcasts.
I'm DangerMouse, an Englishman by blood, a Yorkshireman by the grace of God, a dedicated, devoted, and often sleep-deprived casual fan who once upon a time did earn a black belt in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu.
And my name is Austin, aka No Special, a former wrestler with a knack for all things grappling, who's not afraid of a fiery take or ruffling some feathers.
Together, we combine our individual expertise to dive deep into the current events and ongoings in the world of mixed martial arts, the big and the small. This is the Weekend Roundup.
Hey up you bleeders, welcome to the Weekend Roundup episode 88. I'm your host DangerMouse, signing in from the grim north of England, and I've calmed down a little after last week's tragedy, but still, fuck you Charlie Olives. Anyway, it was back to everyone's favourite Nevada warehouse, the Metapex for this week's fights, for what was definitely a UFC Fight Night card of 2026. Honestly, not the most interesting card to the general public, but for us here at JBR, at least there were some fights that affected our draft picks. Now, some cards I could wax lyrical about on my own for ages. This was not one of those cards. But fortunately, I don't have to because I'm joined by my usual two partners in crime. First up, with more bodies than Bundy, or is that more beers than Bundy? He's never scored 4 touchdowns in a single game, but nonetheless, he's JBR's favourite California can crusher. It's our mate, No Special. How you doing, Austin?
I'm good. I felt very lost last night. I felt like I also probably because I was doing a lot of yard work and started drinking very early in the day. So that definitely checks out. Was able to watch what I could on the main card and definitely ready to talk about some fights. And beer in hand. Let's go.
Yeah. I'm warning listeners ahead of time. We might have some. I've thrown a bit of a curveball on this one. Let's just say that. And so we might have some surprising results. And of course, things wouldn't be the same without my Cleveland co-host with the most. The most of what, you may ask? Maybe weed, maybe words, definitely draft points. He's a lover of language, a wrangler of words, synonyms, homonyms. He has them all and he's not afraid to use them. It's our mate in the Midwest. It's LazyBed. How's the weather today, pal?
Weather is good. Surprisingly, I don't know what tomorrow will hold. That changes by the moment, but yeah, good night of fights. A great night for my draft team. And I loved that Austin intro there. Shout out Al Bundy, Ed O'Neill, Youngstown, Ohio's own. Let's go.
Yeah, I almost tried to make you peg, but I figured you'd just be jealous about the hair anyway.
Oh, I don't want to get pegged. No pegging.
Did we just all get pegged, guys?
All right, enough with the small talk. Let's get cracking on with the fights. And as I've just said, I'm going to shake things up a little bit today. We usually focus on the main card and then cover the best of the rest. Today, we are, with one exception, only going to talk about the fights that ended with a finish. If we have enough time at the end of the show, we might circle back and cover a couple of the decision wins. We'll see. But fear not, included in that couple will definitely not be Chris Curtis versus Mick Tebek oral bye. All right, whichever way I start this, going from top or bottom, I'm going to be dealing with one of Lazy's draft picks. And so I think we might as well start with the main event. I fell asleep after the Philly Delgado fight, but managed to wake up just in time for the main. I decided I wasn't staying up for the full 5 rounds, but I thought I'd just watch a bit of the first round. I was stood by the door, heading up to bed, and very surprisingly, Josh Emmett beat me to the land of Nod. I did have Vallejos to win by KO, but I didn't think he'd be able to get that done in the first round. Josh Emmett is a tough old boot with deadly KO power in his hands. You can just ask Bryce Mitchell about that. Even though very skilled fighters have been nervous to plant their feet and go to war with Emmett, this time it was Emmett circling and looking worried. Former featherweight champ and collector of scalps Ilia Topuria couldn't put Emmett away, but Kevin Vallejos showed no fear and simply lit him up with punches, drowning him with volume, accuracy and power to earn himself a 100k performance bonus. Emmett landed his total of 3 significant strikes at range, but simply had no answer for the young Argentine prospect's fantastic footwork and brutally accurate striking. By the way, I'm puzzled by Vallejos' first name, Kevin. Is that common in Argentina? I don't think it's even that common here these days. And I used to know of quite a few Kevs, but then again, I'm older than MTV. Anyway, absolute powerhouse. Anyway, absolute powerhouse performance by Kev. And I've talked long enough for now, so it's time to pass it over. Now, one of these guys picked Kev for his draft team. The other guy wanted to pick Kev, but wasn't fast enough. Let's see if you can guess which is which, bleeders. Okay, Austin, let's hear from you first.
Yeah. Disappointment all around. But I'll be honest, man. Like, the minute that the bell rung, I kind of figured that Emmett would go forward, and you can see Emmett kind of like playing the game of like, okay, well, if the last time I faced a young boxer who was close to my size and actually young, I didn't do so well. And sure enough, same thing happened. Except, unlike Ilia Topuria, the last time he faced a young, athletic boxer in his division, he actually started circling around and was playing the back pedal, not even trying to run away from Vallejos, which was kind of interesting. He kind of looked like he was trying to set up other things. He even went for a takedown. When's the last time you saw him actively do a takedown for like reasons other than getting his ass kicked in the stand-up department? You know what I mean? Like, I was surprised at why the game plan from them was to actually circle around on the outside when he's never been that good at point fighting or even kickboxing for that matter. He's always been a guy that you kind of look at and think, okay, well, if he kind of finds the button, he'll win the fight. Unless he doesn't find the button, usually he kind of goes to like a contentious decision, And even if he lands really heavy, he's not going to win outright. He's usually going to eat like 15 punches to his 3 strikes, and those 3 strikes usually one of them knocks the opponent down. That wasn't even the case. He didn't even get to like land cleanly because half the time, I think there was like a first exchange where Kevin Vallejos was coming in like the fucking Terminator in Judgment Day. In Judgment Day, he comes in and he lands like a glancing blow. I don't know if it even landed on his chin or temple, but it literally put Emmett on his ass. And you could see the fear of God in Emmett's face. And he's like, oh shit. He just like starts circling around again. And then you can see Vallejos just get emboldened by that moment, and he just fucking never stopped like looking for ways to cut off the cage from Emmett. And you could see Emmett just like, fuck, okay, I gotta look at, okay, he's not, damn it, I can't reach that. Okay, shit, he blocked the takedown. Damn, okay, like the list of the game plan that Team Dillashaw had basically did not come to fruition whatsoever. And you could see the fear in his face of like, fuck, okay, nothing I'm doing is working. And the minute that I try to do something, I'm almost losing immediately. A, he was losing in the clinch battle. B, he stopped. He lost the wrestling game. And then C, he was outgunned from the beginning, which is surprising because that's not ever the case for him. He may be losing on points, but he's never the guy to get like flattened in the middle of like the fight and just get outpointed and then beaten to death. That's not how he usually fights. It was interesting to see that Vallejos just kept his composure, didn't immediately look for the finish, and just allowed it to, basically present itself. And the minute that he hurt him, he did not let up. But he wasn't emptying the gas tank immediately. He played the game. He allowed Emmett to kind of stand back up and then just present him with an open target. Emmett clinged or clinched up in his own little guard. And even Herb Dean's like, dude, fight back. I can't let this go on. Sure enough, like that first exchange against the fence, you see Emmett get dropped, and Emmett's like, oh, God damn it. And then he tries to circle out, and then Vallejos just stays on top of him, doesn't empty the gas tank immediately. He allows him to get back up, and then just unloads with knees to the body, to the head, punches to the body and to the head again. And then that's when you can see him just drop. Emmett just collapses to the ground, and it's like, God damn, dude. That's a fucking monster in this division, and he is a goddamn problem. So anybody who decides to face him, even if you're winning the fight, you might end up just like Josh Emmett. And if Josh Emmett could get fucking knocked out, so can you. So be careful.
Yeah, for sure. Josh Emmett is, of course, getting a bit old. And I'm going to have to dead wrong myself live on air right now. And it's Vallejos, isn't it? Not Vallejos, Vallejos. Before Lazy does his unique pronunciation thing on me. Anyway, let's hear from the man who did snatch up Vallejos quicker than Kev's countryman briefly snatched up the Falklands back in '82.
Ooh.
This fight went a little better for Kev than that one did. Performance of the night, 100K, and more importantly for Lazy, 35 draft points. So over to the smug one. I guess with that win, Kevy's knocking on the door of the top 10. A lot of featherweight fighters have fights booked right now. It's a weight class full of killers, including your number one draft pick, barking mad John Silver. So what do you see in Kevin's future? Do you fancy seeing him against Silver, even knowing that one of them will only gain you 5 draft points? Or do you have someone else in mind? He took no damage. He can easily make a quick turnaround. Go, Lazy. Go.
We knocked out Josh Emmett. We knocked him out. We are top 10 now. We earned 35 fantasy draft points. Thank you very much.
Boo.
This is exactly what I envisioned when I drafted Kevin Vallejos, and this is exactly why Austin wanted to draft him. This is why he was picked in the MMA fighting fantasy draft. This is why he is a hot prospect, because this kid is basically, I know his nickname is El Chino, which I'm not going to get into the meaning of that nickname. Jed and AK Lee covered that well enough. I'm not touching that.
I don't even know what that is.
But his nickname in my eyes should be the prototype, because this kid is exactly that. He's a fucking prototype, dude. If you were going to build a featherweight, this is the way I'd build him. He's jacked to the gills for 145. He's short and low enough to the ground to be stout and defend takedowns, but he's tall and rangy enough to still be an effective striker. He's got phenomenal boxing. He has kickboxing that he's hardly even had to show. This kid has the ability to kick. I can assure you of that. The only area and the only realm we've really yet to see him be tested in is the grappling. Now, that leads me into DangerMouse, what you were pointing out with, how do you matchmake this kid going forward? Well, when you look at the UFC rankings for featherweight and you look at who's going to be ahead of him at 145, assuming he takes Emmett's place at 11, the obvious name that a lot of people are throwing around is Brian Ortega, because he is number 10. Well, people, don't get ahead of yourselves, because Brian Ortega, if he sticks to his word, is not fighting at 145 anymore. He's done for the 145 division. He's a lightweight now. So you could scratch him off the list.
God.
Yeah. Ahead of him, you got names like Steve Garcia, Arnold Allen, Yusuf Slal. All these guys are booked. Aljamain Sterling, who would be a good grappling test, he's booked as well. You do have John Silva sitting there at number 6. Do they run the rematch? Do they do it this soon? Or do you save that for a little bit later? I could see the appeal in doing the rematch, but I'm of the mindset that you wait a little bit on that. You let young Mr. Kevin Vallejos here kind of boil and let him simmer and let him marinate some more before you put that fight on again, because that rematch is going to be guaranteed fireworks. You save that for a future main event down the road a little bit. But it gets dicey in there because, like I said, a lot of these guys are booked up. So what do you really do with them? I kind of like the idea that he himself brought up. Him versus Yair Rodriguez. Where the fuck is Yair been? He hasn't fought in fucking forever. He's been MIA. Everyone keeps holding on to the hope that he's going to face Diego Lopez because of the heat they had at a press conference. We're not getting that fight. The UFC is clearly telling us we ain't getting that fight. Give us Kevin Vallejos versus Yair Rodriguez in a fucking striker's delight that will be beautiful and so fun to watch. I think that's a great fight, even though it's going to be a big jump. Yair's just sitting there. He's a sitting duck. He's doing nothing, and he's only getting older. So that's my thoughts on that as far as how you matchmake them. But I have to talk about Josh Emmett ever so briefly, because I think at 41 years old, he's in a very precarious situation, because he said he just signed a new long-term deal with the UFC. I think it was 5 or even 7 fights, something preposterous. So he's locked in. The hope and the dream that a lot of people have of him going to like a BKFC or a Dirty Boxing where he could really kind of shine and be one of the top guys, that's not going down, because this dude's locked the fuck in. So you better hope and you better pray that they let Josh Emmett kind of dabble outside of the top 15 a little bit to get his fucking, I don't know what you want to call it, his confidence back, to get his mojo running again, because clearly he needs a kickstart and a reminder of who he is and who he can be, because he's getting sparked out. He's getting sparked out quicker than you would expect from a guy who hadn't been put out since he faced Jeremy Stevens way back in the day. So to get submitted by Yusuf Zalal as quick as he did, then put away by young Kevin Vallejos, he's had a really tough run in his last 5 fights or so. So it's tough sledding for a guy that's aging in a division where you age out very quickly and the wheels fall off at a rapid rate. I don't know what you really do with him. I say you got to let him, like I said, play around outside of that top 15. So
I'm surprised you don't. If you want to give Vallejos a little bit longer to mature, you should probably give him just someone above him, like someone in that 10 to 15 range, someone else there.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know if they're going to let him fight back. So if he takes Emmett's spot at 11, like I said, Ortega's at 10, but he doesn't really count because he's not a featherweight anymore. Garcia's booked for the White House. Arnold Allen is facing Melky Costa. Yusuf Zalal is facing he's facing Aljo. So it's basically Jean Silva or above.
Yeah, I had a quick glance when I was writing the script this afternoon, and yeah, I couldn't see that many options for him. Anyway, enough of that gloating from Lazy. Onto the fight of the night at featherweight, where Marwan Rahiki defeated Harry Houdini Hardwick by TKO jaw injury. Poor old Harry stepped up a weight class to make his UFC debut against Kyle Fernandez, who proceeded to blast Harry's leg with kicks and end that fight with one of those rare leg kick stoppages. Horrible look for Harry Hardwick there, and I'm going to name names. There were a few people that thought back at his proper weight, Harry was going to perform better. Our mate Long Island Luke was all aboard the Hardwick train, as was MMA Guru. I did ask Mike Heck his opinion, and heck no, he was not interested in buying a ticket for that train. Good call, Mike. Was, however, a heck of an exciting fight. Harry was able to take Rahiki's back, both in the first. Both guys were well up for throwing down. There was a few early leg kick attempts that drew a smile from Harry. In a total 185 strikes thrown in the first round, Hardwick throwing 102 of them. The numbers were close. Rahiki was the more accurate guy, but he landed 44 strikes compared to Hardwick's 40. I haven't checked the judges' card, but I gave Rahiki the round. I think he landed probably the more convincing blows. Dom Cruz, very complimentary about the level of striking shown by both guys. And then the second round, more of the same. Rahiki is violent. He has power. I saw him land the punch that broke Harry's jaw. I was amazed that Harry ate that punch. It landed so cleanly. There were a couple of times when Harry was hurt and pushed back to the cage, and it looked as if it might all be over. And every time he'd weather the storm, come out the storm teller swinging. And then at the end of the round, Hardwick's corner had no hesitation, called the fight off. Good old Davy Grant there. And say what you will about Hardwick, but you cannot deny that he's tough. To even finish the second round with his jaw hanging down, you could see how bad it was during the grappling sequence. I've seen quite a few broken jaws in fights, but I've never seen one like that. And so Houdini couldn't escape another loss, but I'm sure once his jaw is healed, the UFC will invite him back. Marwan Rahiki kept his unbeaten record. It's exciting to watch, that's for sure. Judging by Dom Cruz's commentary, he has really good striking. So, Lazy, your thoughts on the fight? It was fun. It was fight of the night. But actually, was it main card worthy, even at the Apex?
That, you may have a good point there. I don't know if it was really main card worthy, even for the Apex. And it's kind of peculiar why they slotted that in there. I mean, maybe they expected Harry to get slaughtered. Maybe they anticipated that, he would die. But he didn't die, but he did put on a fucking phenomenal show in nearly dying. Freaky Rahiki. That's a cool ass fucking name. I like that nickname, Freaky Rahiki. I just enjoy it.
Sorry, I was watching a bit of Flying Squirrel this afternoon, and he did a little bit on Freaky Rahiki. I'll have to clip it out for Dave. Maybe get slot. It cracked me up.
Dude, this is my first time seeing Marwan Rahiki, and I saw his nickname is Freaky. Now, let me tell you something. All right? When someone tells you they're freaky, and they have a mustache lined up and eyebrows lined up like that, believe them. Okay? They're not lying. Marwan Rahiki Freaky. Marwan Freaky Rahiki. Put that brother on a curfew. Okay? Do not be outside past dark with Marwan Freaky Rahiki. Okay? all jokes aside,
It's warning you about people with the nickname Freaky who look like Marwan Rahiki.
Oh goodness. Well, yeah. Freaky Rahiki. He might have. Maybe the word isn't freaky. Maybe the word is fucking fantastic, because the kid looked phenomenal. A little bit too willing to be hit, but that's a common trait amongst youngsters. But you can't take nothing away from him, because he went out there and he put a licking on Harry Hardwick, who is tough as shoe leather. Like the guy's face looks like a $2 steak, and it is as durable as one. He's just kind of, and I hate to say this, because we know when he made his UFC debut, he did it up a weight class from his natural weight. He came back down for this one, but he still kind of looked undersized. He still looked like his punches don't have much pop on him for the weight class. And it got me to sort of thinking, like, is it possible that he's maybe actually a bantamweight? I don't know. And I don't know how far I want to push the fucking guy, but it's just, if his punches had the ability to inflict a bruise, he might actually go somewhere. But unfortunately they do not. He punches like Josh Thompson. He punches like he's in a dream. And although he has the ability to take a punch like few in the game, it just seems like he can't really put the damage on anyone. And that's a tough combination to have, because you're going to get your ass beat and not go away easily, but you're not going to really put a hurting on your opponent. So tough scenes for Harry Hardwick, who, coming from Cage Warriors, did have some hype behind him. His brother, I believe, is a 2-division champ in Cage Warriors, or was at one time. So from a fighting lineage, fighting background, has his fans in the UK, has his backers. So this is tough for him. Now 2 consecutive losses in a row. First to get his leg absolutely chopped off, and then now to break his jaw. And shout out to Long Island Luke from the Main Card Minute for his fantastic impersonation of Harry Hardwick in the corner.
My jaw is broken. I want to be done.
Maybe Dave will put the clip in here. Maybe he won't. But yeah, so just a good fight from the youngster. Still only 23 years old for Freaky Rahiki. Won't turn 24 until May. So sky's the limit. What do we always say? Sky's the limit. Book him right. Do him right. Don't shoot him to the top too fast. And I think you really got something here with him.
Cool. Austin, some fighters outside the top 15. Any idea for Rahiki's next fight? And obviously, what did you think of that fight?
I liked it. So, to your guys' point, the point I think of this was supposed to be a showcase. It kind of almost wasn't, because of the fact that Hardwick wasn't going away. But thankfully, because his jaw was broken, he was mercilessly stopped and pretty much was allowed to leave with his life. I think that's the way I would put that. But I think that's the other thing too, is that we don't see enough of this in the sport, where a fighter's like, dude, my jaw's like I think the thing I appreciated about this fight more than the chaos that was going on inside the cage was the fact that, like, hey, my jaw's fucked. I don't know if I can continue with this. And the corner was like, dude, don't, they called it off, like you said, Mouse, immediately. And it's like, we need more of that, man. We need to have the idea of this sport allowing the fighters to be like, hey, I don't know if I can continue in the state that I'm currently in and win this fight without causing more damage to my own personal health. And the corner should have the faith of the fighter for his best interest, and that's what we saw. That's perfect. I absolutely applaud that. That's awesome. Also, the fact that you guys is also your what do you call it? The statement you made about the placement on the card. Now, even if it's in the Apex, it was questionable, because technically these guys only had a Contender Series fight and a last minute bring up from what was it? He wasn't even in the Contender Series, am I right?
Cage Warriors, yeah, Cage Warriors.
Cage Warriors, yeah. He just came from Cage Warriors, right? So they just kind of threw him on there, and then he got his legs chopped off in front of everybody, and got wheeled out in a girdle, or I'm not girdle, but
gurney,
yeah.
gurney.
Gurney, thank you. I don't know where girdle came from, but
Harry Hardwick in a girdle. Make it happen, Dave. Make it happen. that really is some Houdini shit there. Getting out of the girdle.
but that's the thing. It's like I don't dislike the man as a fighter. I just think he, like Lazy was saying, he's just kind of like, I think he's too tough for his own good. I think he's capable. He's not a fucking bantamweight either, Lazy. I don't think he's. I mean, he was undersized at featherweight only because he's got chicken wings, dude. If he had some goddamn ass and thighs on him, he'd probably be able to put some extra power on that with them fucking hips and whatnot. You know what I mean?
He has no musculature whatsoever.
Yeah.
He's just ridiculous.
He's out there just like, I know, he's just out there like, I'm here, guys. It's like, all right. But no, I think this is the thing that you would do for a guy that you think is a prospect. You can turn into a star. And I think that's the thing that they were trying to do with this kid from Morocco. I'm looking at him, and I think he has the ability. I'm not sold because this fight was a little bit more tougher for him than it should have been. Now, granted, this guy that he was put in front of was a little bit, capable. And that's not, a knock on him or the fight that he was fighting. It's just like, you kind of expect a prospect to roll over a guy like him in order to kind of showcase himself. That's why you kind of put him on the apex. You're hoping for him to showcase why you have faith in him as a competitor in this division. Am I there thinking that he's a guy? No, not yet. Let's see what he does. This is only his actual first fight inside the UFC because he was on the Contender Series prior to this. Again, I'm not here to tell you that like this guy isn't or is. I just don't think he's there yet. We need at least 2 more fights from him against guys who are actually in this division and have been in this division for like the last 5 or fucking couple of years. We'll see. I thought the kid looked good. I do have some questions about his game planning, but again, that's because he also faced a dude who just was like, "Yeah, no, I'm good," until my jaw was broken, and then even then, I was like nonchalant about it. So I have reservations on whether or not he can be that guy in this division. Let's say if he faces someone like Andre Fili, right? Does he also make the same mistakes? Andre Fili is a vet. We saw him fight this past Saturday, and he looked fucking good, even in a losing effort. Let's see. That's the thing. I want to see him against a veteran who's actually been in the UFC long enough to at least have a name in this division. And then we can talk about whether or not he is that guy. But he still has to have a couple more fights before we can even get there. So, look good, look capable. I have reservations on his ability as a contender in this division. But again, he's not even there. Let's just take our time. Just keep beating him, guys. Not like Hardwick. A little bit better, but we'll see. That's all.
Hey, at least we can say this. Harry Hardwick, he can at least find the good in the bad because he said on his Instagram afterwards from the ambulance, "My jaw is obviously fucked, but that's all right. I like soup, I like smoothies, and I like milkshakes. So all of these things I can still have. Life's good."
That's so good.
I was going to make a comment about that. With $100,000, you could definitely buy a lot of smoothies and soup and that kind of shit. Also, I've got to quickly say, it just popped into my head there. They do make them tough in Middlesbrough, and I can say that because the first fight I ever had at school was with a lad from Middlesbrough. And shout out to Stephen Doherty, if by some miracle of chance you happen to be listening to this. I tried to knee you in the balls. And I couldn't quite get the shot in. But enough of my school time memories from the Victorian era. Next up, we're going to have to take a break from the finishers and look at a decision win and get some blood for the blood gods. We have Team Dave and Chatri's 4th round pick, Stephen Aspland, who was arguably given a jump up in competition, facing Vitor Petrino. I say arguably because it is heavyweight after all. Aspland almost had to finish in round 1, but he couldn't quite put Petrino away. Did do a little fake moon at him after he'd landed that blow. I was a bit surprised by Aspland's gas tank this time compared to his previous fights. He seemed to fade a lot quicker. Petrino, despite looking physically impressive, also lacks cardio. Credit where credit's due, though. His jab is pretty sharp, and he really, really messed up Aspland's face, giving him a bloody mask to fight behind. Fair to say that Aspland needs to work on his head movement there. The Aspland trainer is slowed, but this is heavyweight, so a loss like that doesn't really matter too much. I have no idea if Dave or Chatri wants to say anything about the fight. Are you going to jump in, Dave?
No.
All right, well, 5 points is 5 points. Fuck you. So, Lazy, you're up first. What are your thoughts on concrete? Did you manage to lay any concrete? I was trying to think of a joke. I ran out of time for writing the script.
Well, he did show that he is a heavy load of concrete, because early on in this fight, for him withstanding the athletic onslaught and barrage that is Vitor Petrino was pretty impressive, because you got to figure that guy's strong as a fucking ox. And he was attempting some pretty voracious takedowns on Steven Asplin. Asplin was able to stay on the feet, get it to the cage, keep his balance. I was impressed by that, because I felt like if Petrino wanted to, he was probably going to take this fight to the ground. And he did attempt to, but he did not really succeed. And so the fight primarily took place on the feet for the vast majority of it.
Just jumping in, I think the weight difference helped there on Asplin's side.
Well, that's what I mean. A heavy load of concrete. Yeah. But the point you made there about the stamina was a bit eye-opening, because that was kind of the thing that drew everybody to Asplin, coming off of the Contender Series. And it was slightly visible, because it did seem like he was still able to go when he needed to and have spurts. But man, it really didn't look the same. Hands on the hips from both men at different times in this fight. There was moments where we were talking about it a little bit pre-show. I don't know if it'll make it in, but this fight had great moments where it was like, wow, like this is fun heavyweight. And then there was other times where it was very sloppy and they were very gassed, and it was like, yep, this is the UFC heavyweight division that I know and have come to love or despise. But we also have to point out, and we have to remember, that Steven Asplin was a short notice fill-in on this fight to an extent. Not very short notice, but somewhat short notice. This was originally slated to be Kennedy and Zechiku fighting Vitor Petrino. Asplin got an opportunity here. He got a call up, so to say, to face a more seasoned fighter than maybe he was ready for in the UFC.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, I mean, they kind of gave him an opportunity to step up, to do something special. He had his moments in this fight. He did have Vitor rocked, and some might say he could have capitalized on those moments a little bit better and maybe got him out of there. That's up for debate. I'm not going to question that, but I will say he did look a little bit out of his depth at this point in his career. This was just his 9th fight as a professional, so maybe a bit off a little bit more than he could chew too soon. But on the other hand, for Vitor Petrino, I remain very, very iffy and wishy-washy on this guy. I'm not very confident in him. I will always remember him getting submitted by Anthony Smith down at 205 before he made the move up to heavyweight. His chin is questionable. He gets rocked in damn near every fight. So he's not, he didn't get the most credit from me in this fight either.
Yeah. Like I said, the body of a Greek god, and then fights like that. Austin, anything to say on this one? This could get fun.
This for me, now I don't remember everything from this fight, if I recall. I kind of was in and out of having a handful of I was distracted, let's say that. There was a context of something, if I remember correctly, a crossroads between where you had the athlete in the division who was also kind of, I'm not going to call him an artificial heavyweight, because that would imply that he was only good at light heavyweight, and that's not what he was. He was capable at light heavyweight, but he wasn't good at it. So it's kind of like a true testament to the division's kind of whereabouts of, where it stands, honestly. A guy who kind of like shows up in Asplin, just doesn't look like a killer, but can show you why he is a capable fighter. He's limited, but he, like Lazy said, he's just, he's only had his 9th fight. So like, you can't really expect too much out of him. I mean, hey, heavyweight guy goes down. If I hit him, you're a good heavyweight. Right? Like that's pretty much the bar for being a decent heavyweight. He dropped the guy, but he couldn't fucking finish him. So he's I don't think he's a bad heavyweight. I think this is where the division is right now. Kind of reminds me of like the old days of heavyweight, where it's like you occasionally had guys who would just show up, and then a vet that would, be capable would have a tough time with that dude, not be able to put him away right away. But, there's guys that had, Anthony Hamilton versus Crow Cop, I think, comes to mind, where it's like, yeah, no, you kind of like look at that guy, you're like, I'm looking at this fight and I'm like, yeah, this one shouldn't go the distance. And, it depends because sometimes those guys can show up and just kind of surprise you because it's heavyweight. You're supposed to be able to, like, they can take punches and they can also dish out punishment themselves. So it's surprising to me that, like, Vitor had as much trouble with a guy that he was A, more athletic than, B, had faced better competition than, and C, was a a capable, in most aspects, more well-rounded. He had more experience. He had all this other shit that was working in his favor, and he still struggled against this guy. Like, Lazy was saying, you're kind of like, I don't know if you're that guy yet, but it's heavyweight. So it's kind of a weird way where it's like, okay, 5-10 years ago, we probably would have been like, oh, this is an interesting, development for the, weight class. At least we got one guy that we can at least depend on to be a guy in this division, maybe later on. Whereas right now, it's like, it doesn't really do much for the division because we have no idea what's going on with the top. So it's kind of like, yeah, everyone hates heavyweight to begin with. So we're kind of like, well, shit, this was kind of fun. It was fun. This is what the division needs, though. Like, you need guys to show up and give you reasons to watch the heavyweight division, even if it's not the best, like, of the division, that can be offered. You need reasons to watch the heavyweight division because, God forbid, we've already had, like, how many shows where we're like, oh, fucking heavyweight again, like, God, we need to shut this division down. Just fucking scrap it, burn the fucking place down, but at the same time, you're kind of like, okay, well, we have people that we can count on that can at least put on either performances or some kind of interest in the division. If we can at least get that on a consistent basis with this fucking, weight class, great. I'm definitely watching Aspen's next fight. I'm definitely going to be interested in what happens with Petrino after this, but you kind of beg the question of, like, okay, well, can we get more of this from the division? These are just two guys. Can we get more from this division? Because we can't just depend on two guys to get the rest of the division at the lower tier to, like, fix the heavyweight, as itself. But again, it was fun. I had memories of it, but it wasn't like exactly like, I was like jabbing in my seat, it was like you said, Lazy said, it was like one of those old school fights. You're just like, oh shit, things are happening, but it doesn't lead to anything. That's the problem. That's all.
Three quick shots before we move on from this fight. One, shout out Stephen Asplin for saying to Vitor Petrino afterwards, we should go get drunk after this. That was a fucking phenomenal moment in the cage. Two, shout out to all the chat members right now that are most certainly, and I'm looking into my crystal ball to see this, all the chat members right now listening to this that are most certainly making jokes about Stephen Asplin and his skin flaps. Shout out to you guys. And then also, this is my plan for this. Should Josh Hokett lose his upcoming fight to Curtis Blades, they have to book Asplin versus Hokett. It's the fight everybody wants to see. Let's see those two white trash hillbillies get in there and do their thing.
We could do that. Sorry, just moving things around here. Okay, next we are going back down to bantamweight and my 6th round draft pick, Elijah Smith, who defeated Yu Sung Young via submission rear naked choke at 1 minute 4 of round 2. Great return to the UFC for Elijah. Round 1 was a grappling bonanza. Su Young succeeding in 4 of his 8 takedown attempts. Great cornering by Smith's team, telling him that Yu had shown him everything he had, which mostly turned out to be true. Yu definitely slowed down. Smith started to land accurate shots, and it didn't take long for him to knock Yu down. Once that happened, once there was blood in the water, he just rained down strikes until Yu rolled over to protect himself. And Smith, despite wanting the KO finish, as he said in the post-fight interview, decided to show off his grappling and just went for the good old favourite RNC. And Austin, this is a draft pick you made some mocking comment about me making. I forget what it was. Well, my 25 points says, fuck you. And I think you were just jealous I told him. I mean, these weights, after all, are your area of expertise, right? And I've got down here. I've got down here, and I've put nonetheless. I'm sure you enjoyed the fight for as long as it lasted. And what do you think of the fight? And what's in Elijah Smith's future? But there has been doubt thrown upon that, so you can answer those questions as best you can.
Well, again, my issue, if I'm not mistaken, he's like in his early 30s, correct? As a prospect.
I'm not sure.
I think he's like 28.
Yeah.
No, I think that was another kid, if I'm not mistaken.
Elijah Smith is 23.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Well, so I actually had 24 in my head originally, so you surprised me there. You sure you're not getting mixed up with Malcolm Wellmaker? That's who I keep mixing him up with.
Oh yeah, because they're both tall and lanky. Damn it. Okay, yeah. All right,
Yeah,
never mind.
I
Dave got
was,
that.
I was convinced Smith had lost the fight before this one, and that was Wellmaker. I think who got KO'd.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't
Smith,
get KO'd, but he lost.
Oh yeah. Okay. Smith's fight before this one was with the one where he.
This was the one where it's like he just didn't really have a lot of experience, so it's like, okay, we're just throwing it in there because he's a flashy KO artist, right? So it's like I had reservations just because it was one of those things where it's like, okay, it's kind of like throwing your money on Raul Rosas Jr., but you're not sure what the payout is until he faces like the top tier guys. That's my thing. I mean, if you're just gonna get like you said, I think when we first talked about it, I was like, oh yeah, you're just going for the easy money. Is what I think I remember saying about it. So he's just gonna get he's gonna get wins like this, where it's like you shouldn't have a prospect go against like the top echelon of the division just yet. You should have him get wins like this against guys who are on their way. Because if I'm not mistaken, was part of the UFC's Road to UFC tournament and was a tournament winner and had come up like with a handful of like victories. I think he was like 5 wins in a row if I'm not mistaken, right? So I kind of looked at you as like, okay, well, he's going to be well rounded. He might not beat him in stand up because he's not tall and he's not really like a fast puncher to begin with, so he might just out grapple him. What ended up happening was the opposite. He just kind of got caught and then he found himself on his ass, and you know, the younger man found the finish pretty quick, and I was kind of surprised by that. I was like, shit. I thought the guy who had been fighting longer would be better at defending the submission attempt, but apparently he wasn't. Especially when you got like clipped the way he did. But at the same time, I looked at this fight. I'm like, okay, well, if you can't get him to the ground, he might just lose. I did not foresee a finish coming by way of submission from the other side, but hey, it just shows that how well-rounded the other guy is. But I'm hoping that they don't push him up like they did with some of the other prospects, especially in this division. I like the idea of him kind of working his way up gradually because he still needs the experience. He's young, right? But we'll see. I got a feeling that they're going to push him sooner rather than later. So as long as he's ready for it, I mean, hell, the UFC is kind of like not willing to wait on prospects these days. So they're either like a guy now or you're not a guy at all, is what that kind of comes to mind. So good for him. Fun. And, this is why a bantamweight is awesome.
He has the looks and the style for the future promotions on Paramount, I guess. Lazy, I don't think you're bitter enough to just pick against Smith just because he's one of my draft fighters. Thoughts on the fight and my boy's future? How high can this young man go?
Oh, I don't know if he can go as high as I am right now, but he can go pretty fucking high. He's good. The kid is very, very good. Like you, DangerMouse, I thought he was at least 24, but no, he is still just 23. Man, like, yeah, a literal baby. Second generation. That was all the talk when he was on Contender Series and coming in. Had the big slam KO prior to this fight that went viral. And he shows kind of the I don't want to be cliche, but the evolution of the game. He shows what it means to be a second generation fighter in this young sport. We got to keep in mind, like, the UFC alone itself has been around for what, like 37 years now, 38. The math is not mathing in my head right now, but
32.
32. Okay. It hasn't been 35 yet. No, 32.
No, started in 1993.
That's true. Yeah, I thought we had the 35th, but I'm thinking of the 30th when they had the anniversary thing on the gloves. Anyhow, so this sport's still young, so we're seeing what it means to be a second generation athlete in this game, and he shows all the tools, the speed, the quickness, the pinpoint accuracy, the ability to that sequence that finished this fight. Was just fucking phenomenal. The way there was a moment he kind of like slipped one of Yu's jabs and caught him with like an uppercut, and then there was like a brief grappling sequence. They got back to their feet, and then he clips him with, I believe it was a right hook, drops him, takes the back, wraps up that fucking rear naked choke in an instant. And not against the schmuck. As Austin pointed out, you was on a nice little streak there. Did win the Road to UFC tournament, was coming in off of, I believe, 5 wins in a row. And he's a guy his nickname is literally Jiu-Jitsu. So Jiu-Jitsu is his thing. And Elijah came out there and did his thing better than you could do. So I think he does have a very high ceiling. The thing that I worry about with him is durability. He's got that tall, kind of lanky, slender build. I don't know how well he's going to take shots or how his stamina is going to do if he gets against a bantamweight that is more of a physical, big, stocky bantamweight that's going to drain on him a little bit. So we'll see how that pans out. But I think it was a good selection, and I do think he's got a pretty bright future. And bantamweight is very fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, next we're at lightweight, where Manuel Sousa defeated Balaji Oki via KO punch in round 3, 4 minutes 12 seconds. An exciting fight. I was almost surprised it wasn't the fight of the night, or at least a fight of the night. It was back and forth first round. Sousa landed a blow that sent Oki crashing down, and for a moment it looked like it was going to be a quick finish. Oki, though, had other ideas and managed to get enough time to recover when he was able to spend most of the rest of the round grappling. Still lost the round, I think. Oki managed to get himself very much back in the fight, throwing and landing some more strikes, including a lovely eye poke. His movement and defense were exceptional. He limited Sousa to landing just 19% of his significant strikes that round. With everything on the line, these guys were still throwing heat in the third round. Honestly, it's amazing that this fight went 3 rounds with how they were throwing. Sousa seemed to have found some extra energy, maybe because of the eye poke rest, and he adjusted his tactics, pushing Oki back inside the tram lines, restricted his movement, stopped bothering really with any feints, instead preferring to just try and knock Oki's head off. And he did just that with about a minute to go. A sneaky grab of Oki's left hand. He pulled it out of the way and just left the room for Sousa's right hand, which connected absolutely flush. No follow-up needed. Walk-off KO, 100K performance bonus, and lazy. What do you got to say about this one?
Oh, man. Probably the coolest finish of the night. So much style points. Glad you pointed out how he grabbed the wrist and kind of pulled that arm out of the way to land his straight right and put the fucking lights out. It was okie dokie from there. He was fucking done. And Sousa was a guy that came in with a good amount of hype off the regional scene. A lot of the prospect watchers and stuff like that on Twitter were really riding him hard. Pause, no diddy. But really, he did have a lot of hype among people that like are in the know, quote unquote. So he was one of those guys to kind of keep an eye on, and he performed. This was a very fun fight. Could have potentially been a fight of the night, maybe on any other night. So yeah, very deserving of that bonus for the finish. Really just deaded Oki, to the world with one shot, and looked like a miniature Mark Hunt out there.
Austin, anything to add?
No, I mean, it was just like a fun fight. Honestly, I kind of, it's like bits and pieces because last night got a little crazy, but I kind of remember like the one moment where he's just kind of like dogging him at the end of the round, like you guys said before the finish, and he's just like, he sees it, and I don't know if it was just me, like, was when Oki came into the UFC, was he kind of like heralded as a prospect? Because I kind of remember him kind of being like a guy
he was
when they first brought him in, and I don't think it's worked out because now he's like lost 2 of his 5 or 3 of his 5, if I'm not mistaken, or
3 out of 5.
Wasn't even that
3
long
out of
ago.
5.
Yeah, so it's like, shit. I kind of feel bad for the guy because he had like a lot of hype when he first came in, and then he just hasn't lived up to it. Sousa, on the other hand, I think is a guy you kind of want to just keep throwing him in there in the deep end of the division, not the upper deep end, but the lower deep end, because lightweight has always been a fucking Shark Tank. Just let him fucking. There's no shortage of names you could put him in there against. He looked good. I have questions about him, but that's like with every prospect or per new person they bring in. It's just you want to see a guy get put against good matchups that test him, but don't outright make it a bad matchup for him. So this was like a perfect little setup for him. I think that's why I picked him. I had a feeling that he was just going to put on the pressure and just kind of maneuver the German, or I'm sorry, the Belgian, right? Belgian? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But But at the same time, I'm kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? This is another reason why I think this fight was put together, because I think when you kind of assume, and this is going off in a separate tangent, but the Apex has this reputation of just not having an exciting atmosphere, especially, when you have road shows, main events on pay-per-views, and now PLEs. This fight itself, I think you could kind of look at it and be like, this is what the Apex is supposed to do. It's supposed to give you a reason to watch these fighters eventually leave the Apex. Is Souza one of those guys? I don't know. He looked pretty good last night. I mean, it was pretty fun. I don't know. But we'll see, because he might need another one or two of those performances inside the Apex. And this is what they should be doing, is just give us reasons to, like, hey, this is a guy that we all want to fucking see fight, and we want to see him fight more often, and we want to see him fight against better competition. Was Oki that guy? He was a guy. He was a guy in the division. But he looked good against him. That's what you want to see with a guy like Souza. Just like, hey, can you do the thing when given the opportunity? Yes, you can. Okay, can you do it again? Can you do it one more time? Can you do it on the road? Can you do it in somebody else's backyard? Can you do it in a main event? We'll see where we go. I like this guy's opportunity, and I like his chances against some of the other guys in this division. This is lightweight, so it's a fucking Shark Tank to begin with. So I'm excited. That's all.
Alrighty then. The final finish of our discussion, which was actually the first finish of the night, the women's bantamweight fight where Beatriz Mesquita defeated Montserrat Randon via submission rear naked choke at 2 minutes 7 of round 1. Another lethal woman from American Top Team out of Coconut Creek, home of my girl Dakota Ditchever, who of course is the real Lady Goat. The biggest favourite on the card, and Bea wasted no time imposing her will on Rendon. Despite Rendon's own grappling experience, Bea had no worries taking things to the ground and taking mount. Some ground and pound, and Rendon rolled over quickly to avoid getting smashed to pieces, left a brief opportunity for Bea to sink in the RNC, which she did, and the tap came very quickly. Now, Lazy has been hyping Bea harder than missiles have been hitting Ayatollahs recently, but it's Austin who gets first crack at these.
Jesus fucking Christ, Mouse. Jesus Christ.
You have no idea how long I had to wait to get that joke in.
I know. Yeah, I could tell.
So, Austin, brief thoughts on what we saw. Did you know Bea was this good? And did you expect her to get it done so quickly?
Oh, no. This is 100% what I expected. That's why I picked the way I picked on the Tapology League. Because it's like, this is who she is. I mean, Lazy, this is kind of like big leagues versus the regionals, right? As far as grappling is concerned.
Oh, as far as the grappling is concerned, God, yeah.
Yeah. That's why I was like, yeah, no. I mean, Rendon is not a bad fighter. She's just not as well-rounded in the grappling sense as, Bea. And that's the point. It's like she's just going to come in here kind of like how we expected Kayla Harrison to kind of just run through the division. She's only done it at the top, though. So Bea's got that opportunity. She's not super young, but she's capable and just throwing herself into these fights where it's like, okay, hey, here's another quick finish. Here's another quick finish. Let's see if she could get a couple more. It's women's bantamweight. So right now the door's wide open because we don't have no idea what's going to happen with the top of this division. There's a couple of matchups that are going to be happening here and there. And it's going to give us the opportunity to see someone like Bea kind of sneak her way up into the top echelon. She might even get a couple of ranked fighters within the next, after her very next fight. She's only had 2 fights inside the UFC and has looked like a goddamn fucking menace going in there. Like old school Jacare, just like walking through these fucking people in this division and just showing why she's as touted as she is. She really looked like she had no resistance coming back against her. And when she was literally presented the opportunity to finish, she did not hesitate. She looked good. I mean, I would like to see her do more stand-up, but again, that's just me because I want to see more well-roundedness, and she's not hesitating. She's like, when she got that top mount, she immediately started looking for big strikes with the elbows and punches, and she didn't really resist. So I'm hoping that we get to see more of her develop her ground and pound and striking. But again, beggars can't be choosers. They might just have her go up against a ranked opponent next. So who's to say?
All right, Lazy, almost time for you. But I too have Bea in my other fantasy MMA team. So I was pretty happy with her winning. I don't have to ask if you're happy with the result or expected this level of dominance. So just gush away, mate. Gush away.
First, I gotta say, Tim the Toolman Taylor, man. That's the fucking noise that comes to mind with a Bia Mosquito fight, because this woman, okay, Raul Rosas Jr., Mick DeBeck, Oral Buys, people like that in the fighting game, take a look at this fucking woman, because that's how you fucking do grappling. That's how you fucking ground and pound. That's how you fucking fight if you want to be a grappler. Because this woman, you can have all the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu accolades in the world, which she does, literal world record holder. Nevertheless, you can have all that shit. And we've seen time and time again, a shout out Marcus Buchecha and others, you could come into the UFC or mixed martial arts with that that skill set and those accolades, and it cannot translate. She's got something you can't teach. She has a mean streak. She has a nastiness that's just inside of her, where she wants to inflict pain and damage on her opponents. And from the LFA clear till now in her 2 fights in the UFC, she has shown that that's just something that's inside of her. Like, when she gets you down and she gets you into a dominant position, she doesn't just want to hold position. She doesn't want to be safe. She wants to maim you. And maim you, she fucking does. I think, honestly, and this is not a crazy take, you put Bia Mosquito against Juliana Pena tomorrow, she beats Juliana Pena. She beats her.
Julia.
Soundly.
Julia won't take that fight, though.
No, because she's getting murdered. But she could literally beat a former champion tomorrow. So at her age, there ain't no time to play around. She's with a great team. She's clearly fucking physically fit. So get her back in there. She didn't suffer any damage in this fight. Get her back in there, turn this thing around quick, give her somebody ranked. Boop, 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 skyrocket her up there. Bia Mosquito is the future. Be a grade, mount up.
Yep, you might as well, given she's getting on, as you said, in years. And there's not that many 135 fighters anyway. So
nope.
All right, then time for a quick Tapology update. I went 11-14 on this card, but I didn't manage to nail the specifics very well this week. But I do know some people who did. And in 4th place is Genghis Bong, who joined us just last week, I believe. Took 715 points. 12 correct. Tied in 2nd, we have MMA Autist and current league leader Daz Riccio with 730 points. Again, this is the weirdness of Tapology. MMA Autist 11 fights correct, Daz 12 fights correct. Made it up on the difference, obviously. And in the lead, winning, I'm not sure, did he win last week as well? No, I think that was me. Whichever. Anyway, it's our mate Crossover MMA who took the lead with 760 points. It's going to be getting close at the top. I think there's only 2 or 3 weeks more left before we finish this quarter, so it's all to play for. Certainly for us, anyway.
Big Crossover, getting it done again. Damn it.
Yeah.
I know he's good. He's really good at the last couple, and it's showing us up. He's making me look bad.
Me and Austin just hanging out at 9 and fucking 11. Look at us.
Hey, I'm not at the bottom this time, so I'm fine with it.
Just 6th place for me, seeing as these two are thrown there where they were on this one. Now really outside the top 5. Yeah. And anyway, the last order of business for us is to rate that card. And I'm not going first. Might as well see if we can get a good score from the UFC's harshest critic, seeing as his draft fighters did so well. So take it away, later. I was going to say I'm not going to go first. I'm going to make Dave pick who goes first. I figured you'd be happy with going first on this one.
I don't mind going first on this one at all, actually, because for once, guys, we walked away from this card and I wasn't depressed. I was not moping and brooding in a corner about how the future of the UFC is bleak and grim. No, this was actually a fun card. It was for whatever reason, similar to Austin, there were some moments early on in the night, and even I guess in the main card, where I did find myself kind of drifting off and like kind of doing other things and not really paying the closest attention. I don't know if that's a side effect of these cards being shitty, or if I'm just getting old and I'm losing track of my thought. But I was kind of spacing out.
I thought you were going to
That's-
say, I don't know if that's a side effect of marijuana or not.
It could be that also. There was plenty of that going on. I said it.
Oh, look,
in
a
the main-
butterfly.
I said it in the MCM chat. I had actually rolled joints of ascending size so that as the card went on, I could smoke larger and larger joints. In case it got bad, I would at least be increasing my dosage. So that worked out pretty well. Pretty good night of fights. So is what I'm saying to you guys. It was enjoyable. I had a good time. We had some fun finishes. My draft team obviously did pretty great. It's been 5s from me for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm bucking that trend. I had a good time. I'm giving this an 8.
Oh,
my
shit.
God.
It was good. Great night in the Apex.
Wow, that is very generous.
Not bad.
Austin, I need a moment to recover, so you can go next.
Okay, fair. I know that's surprising too, right? No, I mean, I even some of the decision fights I didn't hate. Like I've never been kind of like one to be like, oh man, this fight's boring. I can't even fucking watch it because I'm like, I just want to see what happens, you know. Majority of these were kind of surprising, but not, like the point of where I'm like out of my seat. The others were like the finishes that were there, or some of the rate crazy brawls and stuff like that. Like even like Charles Johnson and Bruno Silva. That was a fun ass fight too. Like you can't. I think that's the thing. It's like I hate to say that Dana is correct because technically he's not. It's the expectation you can put on the card that can either live up or subdue the enjoyment of the card. If you just kind of watch the card without a whole lot of expectations, you kind of get surprised sometimes. And sometimes when the UFC actually gives a shit, they might put on good matchups and might actually put on good cards when they don't really pay attention to. So it's almost like they accidentally made a good card. It's surprising that it was in the Apex, but it can happen. God forbid, at least, hey, now they might have to actually try now after the debacle that was the last event. So we'll see. Enjoyed it. I'll say it's a 7 for me. I won't say the other letter, or I'm sorry, the other number. So I'll just stick with a solid 7. It was fun. It's not like a 6-7 can get out of here without mentioning, So it was good. I had fun.
I'm still in shock that Lazy gave it an 8. Then again, we are on episode 88 of the show, and if you're from England, Britain, certainly, and you played bingo, they used to refer to 88 as 2 fat ladies. So make of that what you will.
These are nuts. Oh shit.
All right, I suppose I have to score it now. You gave it what, Austin? A 7?
I gave it a 7.
Okay, that's quite harsh for you, I think.
No. 5's harsh. 7.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Let's not go back to last week where we gave him a total of 15, I believe. And you've just matched that with you two. Should have scored 3 just to fuck with Lazy. What can I give this? I agree, Lazy. I kind of drifted off on this one. I don't know whether I was chatting with people on the MCM chat room or what, but there were lots of it that kind of drifted away from me, and I wasn't able to pay attention. I've rewatched some of it today, and so just to tease Austin slightly and maybe piss off Dave, I'm going to give it a 7.67.
I cannot wait for the edit of this.
Me neither.
Oh, shit.
All right, then. We have gone past that. We're reaching our hour at any rate. So we're going to wrap things up here. We're not going to get back to any of those decisions, so rest easy. I didn't get around to writing an ending for this show. So if you've enjoyed the show, make sure to like and subscribe. And let's get the hell out of here. We maybe I know it's the UFC London next week, so I would love to do a preview show for it. I will try and taunt these two into coming along and doing one sometime during the week, but I can't promise it. Until then, we are going away. Lazy will be back hosting the show for next week. And say goodbye, guys. I'm getting the fuck out of here and going to watch some Submission Radio.
See you later, motherfucker.
We did it! Yeah! Come on, Czar! Yeah!
Somehow we got through it. Somehow we got through it. Oh yeah, so you've got Evlov next week, haven't you?
That's right.
To get you 5 points, I hope. Marwan Riki.
I know. Yeah, I can tell.
I think there's a lot of people waiting to get something into. Cut that
Oh,
out. Cut
God.
that out.
No, that one you can keep in. You could be a. Hey, cut that, please. God damn it.
Do you need a mosquito net?
No, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good.